Well, good evening, and welcome to this public forum with the candidates for the Legislative District 47 Senate. I am Dot Frank with the League of Women Voters, and I will be your moderator. This candidate forum has been organized by the League of Women Voters of Bismarck-Mandan and is co-sponsored by the Bismarck Tribune and Dakota Media Access. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that promotes the informed participation of all citizens in their government. The League does not endorse or oppose candidates or political parties. There are two candidates running for election for one seat for the Legislative District 47 Senate, and both candidates have joined us here tonight. They are Mr. Bradley Bergstead and Senator Ralph Kilzer. The audience is invited to submit questions using the index cards provided to you. Viewers at home may phone in questions by calling 355-1312 between now and 6:35 p.m. tonight only, October 1st. That number again is 355-1312. This is intended to be a respectful exchange of ideas. Our purpose this evening is to provide voters with information about the candidates and their positions on issues that affect the people of District 47. Now, let's meet our candidates. You will each have 1 minute to tell us why you are seeking election to the Legislative District 47 Senate. And we'll begin with you, based on a draw, Mr. Bradley Bergstead.
Thank you. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters, Dakota Media Access, and the Bismarck Tribune for hosting this forum. My name is Brad Bergstead, and I'm running for the District 47 Senate seat. I've spent my whole life in North Dakota. I've lived in the District 47 for 7 years. I work at the Dakota gasification facility for 18 years, and I understand the need for energy development as well as balance of preserving the environment and keeping energy affordable. My 4 kids attend school in North Dakota. That means I have a personal stake in maintaining and improving the school systems as much as you do. I want the same things for my community as you do. I want my neighborhood and your neighborhood to be safe. I want our kids to have a future and our parents to have a relaxed retirement. I enjoy hunting and fishing, and I hope that many generations of North Dakotans can hunt and fish too. I promise to bring an open mind, willingness to discuss new ideas at the state legislature. I'm a good listener, and I'll never forget that I'm there to represent you. Thank you.
And now, Senator Kilzer, 1 minute.
I too would like to welcome everyone to the District 47 Senate Forum tonight. Back on February 10th, the Republicans in Bismarck had a tremendous district convention. All 5 districts were present. District 47 had more than 200 people, and I received the endorsement. I received a lot of energy that night. That energy is still going, and I feel it, and I really want to do the best that I can by continuing in the Senate seat. This is my 6th campaign. As far as my background, I'm an orthopedic surgeon. It was my privilege to do the first knee replacement and the first hip replacement surgery that was done in Bismarck. My family, Marcia, is here tonight. One of my 6 children is here, and none of my 7 grandchildren are here. And so I'm looking forward to a very interesting discussion. Thank you.
Thank you both. And now we'll move on to the questions developed by members of the League of Women Voters, the Bismarck Tribune, and our audience here tonight, and our viewers at home. For our audience here to submit a question, please use the index cards provided on your chairs. Viewers at home may phone in questions by dialing 355-1312 between now and 6:35 p.m. tonight, October 1st. That number one more time is 355-1312. Candidates have not been given advance copies of the questions, and each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond to each question. Please comply with our time restrictions so that we may get to as many questions as possible tonight. Our timer will let you know when you are down to 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and then stop. And now on to the questions. This first question is for Mr. Bergstead. What issues are you passionate about that you believe make you a great candidate for this position?
I'm very passionate about North Dakota. I've lived in North Dakota my whole life. I love hunting and fishing and being in the outdoors. Some of my greatest memories of North Dakota are actually camping and with my family and friends. I love North Dakota so much. I want to keep the state the way it is and preserve everything the way it is. And that is one of my biggest values that I want to hold true if I am elected. And also, I want to make sure that our education system gets better as we go along and not fall behind. But
Thank you. And now, Senator Kilzer, same question. What issues are you passionate about that you believe make you a great candidate for this position?
I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I deal with Obamacare. It has been a disaster. The way that it was put through at the national level, the way it has affected North Dakota has been terrible. I've heard and confirmed that we have had 13,000 enrollees, and it's been 4.5 years. At the same time, 39,000 people have received their cancellation of their insurance. There's a lot of other deadlines that haven't been met. President Obama told us right up front, he says, if you like your insurance, you can keep it. I've never heard a more bold-faced lie than that. And so health care needs to be either repealed or something, but we just can't tolerate that.
Thank you both for answering that question about passions. And I noticed during the introductions, it was Mr. Bergstead that mentioned one of the particular passions of hunting. And so this next question, which was supplied by the audience, and we'll begin with you, Senator Kilzer, in the responses, applies to just that, potentially. The question reads, as provided by our audience, what are your views on the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution?
I am a hunter also. I've probably had more upland game experience than anyone else in the room because I started out when there was a bag limit of 8 pheasants, and that could include as many as 3 hens. And there are many times that I bagged the limit. My granddaughter spent time with me just 2 years ago getting her first buck. I am very strong advocate of Second Amendment rights. I just feel that we just need to preserve those. We just can't let it drift off into some liberal restriction that we just can't live with.
And now, Mr. Bergstead, same question. What are your views on the Second Amendment?
wow, my favorite thing to do is hunting. I believe in hunting, and I've deer hunted for most of my life. That's some of my greatest memories are hunting with my father and my uncles out at my uncle's farm, and introducing my children into hunting. My son Skylar shot his first buck a couple years ago up at my uncle's place, and then my son Stetson is going to be hunting this year. And we have a big family outing up there every year, so guns are good for me. I love hunting.
Thank you both. Now, continuing on the route that goes along with environmental concerns and outdoor activities, the next question will begin with you, Mr. Bergstead, reads, given that thousands of more oil wells are expected to be tapped in the next 10 years, how can state legislators work to maintain the quality of our environment and way of life in North Dakota while also balancing the potential for the state's oil industry?
Well, I think we need to maybe go a slower pace at the drilling and make sure that we do it responsibly. We can't let things go out of hand. I mean, the oil is going to be there. I mean, we want to drill the oil, but we want to do it responsibly. We don't want to have spills and that. We want to try to prevent those things. I mean, to be responsible, to hand this great land over to our children and our grandchildren is one of the best things we can do because it gives such great values to family members.
And now you, Senator Kilzer, same question. Given the thousands more oil wells expected to be tapped in the coming years, how do we maintain the quality of our environment and way of life in North Dakota while balancing the potential for our oil industry?
Well, we have the experience of already drilling quite a few oil wells and the experience of the changes that causes in the environment. This last legislative session, the Republican-dominated legislature has set aside $30 million for conservation practices. That's a good start. The governor has already talked about $34 million additional dollars. Did I say 30 million originally? The governor is talking about doubling that with the additional 34 million. And so I think that the funding will be there, and I think that the health department will gear up its surveillance and keep the environment pristine.
And now the next question. North Dakota continues to be in an enviable financial position. In light of our state's surplus, how do you believe these funds should be used? We'll begin with you, Senator Kilzer.
Well, we need to take a lot of testimony from a lot of political subdivisions who are being affected by what's happening, particularly in the areas of law enforcement and education, and also the social problems that have been magnified since we last met in session almost 2 years ago. No doubt there will be increases in the needs and the demands of local political subdivisions, and I think we need to listen carefully to what they're requesting. Quite a few of these areas actually do need a lot. One of the things that's in vogue right now is kind of bypasses around towns and cities, and even Bismarck has its proposal.
Same question, Mr. Bergstead.
I believe that we should be using this surplus to help support our infrastructure that we have currently. I've witnessed myself just looking at under overpasses and stuff, the rusting and the decaying of those bridges. And coming from the field that I work at Dakota Gasification, is a lot of what we really invest our time into is reliability. And that means making sure that these beams and stuff like that are coated with coating so we don't rust away, make reliability. But also tax relief and education. Education is key. We need to make sure that we get our children good education, because if we don't have that, that's our foundation. And public safety. But hearing about all the crimes and things that are being committed out in the oil patch and everywhere else, it's just getting out of hand. And I think that we need to have better public safety and make sure we can fund that properly.
The next question relates to more money, and we'll begin with you, Mr. Bergstead. The question, as supplied by our audience this evening, reads, do you support eliminating personal income tax at a state level?
Well, that's kind of a hot topic now, but eliminating personal tax is, you need taxes. I mean, I don't see increasing taxes, but you need taxes. And what I would like to put out there in legislation, if I do get elected, is to give tax relief to the people with Social Security, and then to our veterans, and then our current military people. But taxes, they're going to be there forever. But I don't want to see any increase in taxes.
Same question, Senator Kilzer. Do you support eliminating personal income tax at a state level?
My short answer is no. I am a proponent of the three-legged stool, which involves sales tax, property tax, and income tax as sources of revenue for government.
Thank you both. Next question. Let's continue down the road with how we're going to be funding different items. Education was mentioned before by each of you, and it's the topic of the next question. K through 12 school funding reform, along with property tax reform, continues to be a priority each legislative session. Do you believe that we've done enough on this issue, or should it continue to be addressed? Senator Kilzer.
Well, of course, a lot of people think that we've never done enough, and you could never do enough. I think we've done pretty good on K through 12. for the first time in our history, we've gone over $1 billion for the foundation aid expenditure by the legislature. In addition, we've provided many hundreds of thousands of dollars of property tax relief, so that the change has almost been at $2 billion out of our 13-some point billion dollars in our whole budget. I think we've done well. Even looking at the local Bismarck public schools, their budget has gone up over $150 million for the annual budget. Of course, they're the largest in the state, but I think we're doing reasonably well. We need to keep changes and keep up with the times, though.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Bergstead, same question. K-12 school funding reform along with property tax reform continues to be a priority. Do you believe that we've done enough on this issue, or should it continue to be addressed?
We need to continue to address it because we just can't keep warehousing the taxpayers' money. We need to put it to use. Actually, the school that my son goes to was just built by our house, and it's already overflowing with children. I think we're way behind, and we need to catch up to the times. And spending money on that is the way to go. And also, all the smaller communities out there, they're overflowing too, and they need help. You know, the answer is not to tell these counties and in these small cities that, well, you can get a loan from the state and pay interest. It's the taxpayers' money. We need to invest it in them and help them out.
Next question was supplied by an audience member this evening. Do you support state funding for Head Start? Why or why not? We'll begin with you, Mr. Bergstead.
I support funding for Head Start because it has been proven, there's been research out there that has said when you have children that are educated a lot earlier, they're a lot less likely to commit a crime when they get older, and also they tend to own a house and graduate from high school. And if they own a house, that means that they're a good tax-paying citizen to me. So I believe in funding that, yes.
Senator Kilzer.
On the Head Start program, this is a program that is funded federally with some private funds in addition. There are 3,300 participants in North Dakota, and the total budget for a biennium is about $1.6 million. In the governor's budget and in the legislature, there was $200,000 of state money that was put into that fund for coordination purposes. And I can't give you further details, but I've given you a lot of details about it. I would propose looking at what may be needed in addition for coordination activities, but I'd keep a close eye on what the federal is because it is a federal program.
Childcare now continues to be a widespread need across North Dakota. How do you think the state can facilitate solutions in this area? We'll begin with you, Senator.
Well, in the area of child care, there's a couple of things. First of all, let's sort out what is competition with private entrepreneurship. The state should not be in competition with private providers of child care. The state does have a role, however, and we're fulfilling that pretty well, actually. The state has a role in areas where child care is not available or there's inadequate. Some of the oil impact funds can be obtained for that, and also for coordination and training purposes. So there are state funds. We should look at it again. But I don't think we should be in competition with private industry, and we shouldn't be in competition with schools.
Same question now addressed to you, Mr. Bergstead. Childcare continues to be a widespread need across North Dakota. How do you think the state can facilitate solutions?
Well, I would like to see some support with these with funding this because, you know, we've built an economy where it takes both parents working out of a house now, and we need to make sure that their children are well cared for when they are at work. You know, if they're out there being a good tax-paying citizen, I think we should give some kind of assistance to that.
Next question, supplied by our audience this evening. A reminder to the audience members that are sitting here tonight to submit your questions on the index cards provided to you. Those who are viewing at home, a reminder that you may call in your questions by dialing 355-1312 between now and 6:35 this evening, October 1st. And the question reads, what are your views on protecting the life of newborn children?
I think you should protect the life of a newborn child at all costs.
And I'd like to make a clarification. I'm pretty sure that the intent might be unborn children. So your views on protecting the life of unborn children?
I'm going to choose not to answer that question at this time.
Senator Kilzer.
Well, I'm happy to answer the question. I'm a physician. I've gone through the courses in embryology, genetics, reproductive endocrinology, and I also took the oath of Hippocrates. There is no question that human life begins at a documented stage. All we have to do is go back to our high school biology texts to look at what is a living being and what is not a living being. And all human life needs to be protected. It's the moral law, and you can make civil laws and until you're blue in the face, and it will not change the moral law. So it is my firm conviction and my oath that life should be protected at all stages. I'm a supporter of the Human Life Amendment, measure number 1.
Rape, human trafficking, sex crimes, domestic violence, and other crimes against women and children are becoming more common every day in our community. Do you have any ideas for addressing these issues? We'll begin with you, Senator Kilzer.
In this last legislative session, the executive budget was put together during the summertime, and then we received it in December. And then during the session, the Attorney General came before my subcommittee, and we reviewed all of the items in that budget of the Attorney General for law enforcement. One of the things that I insisted upon was that we add $9.6 million for this very purpose to the Attorney General's budget. That was done, and I'm glad we did, because that has become a major problem.
Same question for you, Mr. Bergstead. Rape, human trafficking, sex crimes, domestic violence, and other crimes against women and children are becoming more common every day in our community. Do you have any ideas for addressing these issues?
Yes, I think we need to get more law enforcement involved, and my wife personally is the founder of the Fuse organization that is spearheading the operation to make this to help out people. We need to make sure that there's funding there for victims too. I mean, we need to help these people out when those things do happen.
Next question. In your opinion, does North Dakota have an adequate balance between funding social programs and reducing business and commerce taxes?
I think that we do a good job of that right now, yes.
Same question. Senator Kilzer, in your opinion, does North Dakota have an adequate balance between funding social programs and reducing business and commerce taxes?
Well, I think we'll find out in the coming session, because we'll hear both from the Commerce Department, which keeps a close eye on that sort of thing, and we'll hear from the other state agencies about that. But as far as I know, nothing has surfaced.
The Center for Public Integrity recently gave North Dakota an F on state government accountability and transparency due to its lack of a legislative ethics commission. Do you believe that an ethics process should be put in place in North Dakota? Senator Kilzer.
Well, I'd like to see what it looks like. If it's a witch hunt organization, I would certainly oppose it. If it's if it's a good organization, and I heard the phrase trust but verify the other night, I'd certainly go along with that, but I don't want a witch hunt organization.
Same question. Now your response, Mr. Bergstead.
I believe we should have a checks and balance out there. If you're not doing anything wrong, then what are you worried about? But, you know, I feel like we should have somebody that should be able to watch over these things if there is some things going wrong, and then we will know about it, yes.
North Dakota has seen an influx of initiated measures this election cycle. There's even an initiated measure that would restrict measures that refers to how fiscally related measures get on the ballot. Do you think that the referral and/or initiated measure process is being used as intended? We'll begin with you, Mr. Bergstead.
No, I don't think so.
And now Senator Kilzer.
Well, as far as I know, I haven't heard any objections to the system. It is quite lengthy, and you know, you should do a lot of studying before you go and vote. But I haven't heard of any objections other than that it is quite lengthy on the ballot. I'm all in favor of letting the people do what they would like, and I'm not prepared to say that we need to cut people off. I think they should be able to express themselves and to be able to bring their ideas forward. So I'm not in favor of limiting it as I know now.
Thank you both. Cities in North Dakota continue to struggle to keep up with the need for safe roads, clean water, waste disposal, and more. What needs to be done to address immediate and future infrastructure needs? Senator Kilzer.
120 years ago, my grandparents came to North Dakota as immigrants. They didn't have roads and schools and a lot of support services at that time. They were very ingenious people, and they put together roads and schools and other infrastructure items. We are kind of faced with a similar situation now. We've learned a lot in the last 2 years. When we need to build roads and increase schools and all these other needs, we need to come at it with a very organized way, a pattern of doing this. And you need three things to make it efficient. You need people, first of all. I'm sorry about that. You need people, first of all. Secondly, you need money resources. And thirdly, you need timely things. And I guess I don't have time to finish, but you need all three of those working together, otherwise it's wasteful.
Same question to you, Mr. Bergstead. Cities in North Dakota continue to struggle to keep up with the need for safe roads, clean water, waste disposal, and more. What needs to be done to address immediate and future infrastructure needs?
Well, I think we need to try to help fund these towns and little townships, because they've actually increased. So some of the towns have increased 4 times the size of what they used to be. So their sewer systems and stuff are outdated, and their wastewater treatment facilities are outdated, and they're overcapacitated. And our highways. A lot of our highways aren't built with a wide enough shoulder, so when you've got these big oil trucks coming down the road, you really don't have enough room, and especially in the wintertime when they're plowing and things like that. So we do need to address these situations to make it safer and to make our drinking water safer too, because if you don't run a good wastewater facility, that could get into your drinking water.
And down the line of water, this question was supplied by an audience member this evening. What are your suggestions about the water issues in our state? And we'll begin with you, Mr. Bergstead.
Could that be a little more defined, like water issues like drinking water or fracking water, you mean, or?
You may answer it in any manner you would like.
Well, drinking water is huge. We need to make sure that we keep our drinking water the best that it can be. But as for like fracking water, we need to make sure like fracking water that we take care of it, that it goes to the proper waste facility so they can treat it and make sure to take all the contaminants out of it and that. So, but that's what I have for water issues.
Thank you. And now you, Senator Kilzer.
I used to be a water chemist, so I'm very intimately knowledgeable about the quality of water issues. And I think our health department and the federal inspectors who I used to work with are doing a good job of making sure that our quality of water is adequate and overseen. However, in North Dakota, we seem to be dealing with the quantity of water. And the issue about Fargo, you need it both ways in Fargo. They face droughts and inadequate water supply, and they're also very level on the Red River and are subject to floods. So Fargo, like Grand Forks 15 years ago, is very much at risk for suffering from inadequate or flooding water supplies.
I'd like to thank the TV viewers this evening for supplying us with some questions. You've got about 5 minutes to call in your questions. That number is on your screen, and it's 355-1312. You have until 6:35 this evening, October 1st. Now, a question from a caller. One way to control healthcare costs is to prevent disease up front. Does the state have a role in supporting individuals who take personal responsibility for their health? We'll begin with you, Senator Kilzer.
Well, yes. I mean, that's what we have the health department for, mainly is to make public health available to everyone. And I hope everybody in the audience is thinking about their flu shot very shortly. The health department also has to oversee our food and our environmental areas. So absolutely.
Same question for you, Mr. Bergstead. One way to control healthcare costs is to prevent disease up front. Does the state have a role in supporting individuals who take personal responsibility for their health?
Yes, I think that the state should make sure that people do stay healthy and fund programs to promote health for all of our people in the state. Because if you have a healthy state, you have less people in the hospitals and flooding the emergency rooms, yes.
Next question from the audience this evening. Do you think teachers in North Dakota should be paid, at very least, the national average? We'll begin with you, Mr. Bergstead.
Yes, I believe that we should set the example for the rest of the nation as for paying teachers, especially in the western part of the state. I heard last on one at the forum the other night that there was a Tioga teacher that made $70,000. I think Miss City talked about that. But that's 19 years being in the teaching system. That's quite a while in there, and you got brand new teachers that we're bringing into the state, and we're taking them to Williston. And they're there, and the cost of housing and everything is so high that it's hard for them to afford that. They've even referred to it as living downtown New York prices for apartments up there. And for people to live there, they need to get more pay. Yes.
Thank you. And now, Senator Kilzer, same question. Do you think teachers in North Dakota should be paid, at very least, the national average?
Well, I would hope so. I used to be a teacher 55 years ago, and my salary for the whole year was $4,200. I've also I've watched these teachers' salary over the years, and I was a supporter when Governor Hoeven had his teacher pay. Sorry about that again. When he wanted to and did raise teacher pay, I supported that bill, and I'm very much in having teacher salaries in line with other salaries. And just a little bit off the topic, but North Dakota salaries, the personal income is now second in the nation. Our personal income is second to Connecticut, Connecticut's a little over 60,000, North Dakota's a little under 60,000, but we are second in the nation in personal income per year.
Continuing on the topic of education, what is your stance on Common Core, Senator Kilzer?
I have not finalized my opinion on Common Core. It is an issue that's before us. It has not been before the legislature. There's good people on both sides of the issue. I don't have kids in school anymore, so I have not finalized my opinion, but it will be coming.
And Mr. Bergstead, same question. Your stance on Common Core.
It is difficult to figure out what is good and bad in it that I've seen so far. I'm not really taking a stance on it right now, but I do have young children that are in school, and it is something that I have been looking at, yes.
Another phoned-in question. USA Today identified a toxic hotspot in the center of our state due to the 7 coal-fired plants in such a small area. What can we do to transition off dirty coal to clean energy? Question begins with you, Mr. Bergstead.
Well, I work at Dakota Gasification, and I do know about the coal-fired power plants too. We can't use a broad brush against it. I mean, we have to be responsible, and we got to remember that coal's been here for a long, long time. Coal has paid for a lot of people's paychecks for many, many years, but we can't use broad strokes with a brush to try to eliminate coal. We have to try to make it better, and that's one thing we need to work at.
Thank you. And now Senator Kilzer.
Well, I would hope that we can make it better. I don't know the specifics of that situation, but I think we need to look into it and correct it and continue on.
Senator Kilzer, how do you think the state legislature can support college students in reducing the amount of debt accumulated while attending our state institutions?
Well, I've had 6 kids go through college, and so I'm glad they're through. I'm glad they're not still in college. But I think that being frugal is probably number one. If you're planning on going to college and your family is going to put you through, you should be in the 529 plan. There are other ways of setting aside money. Some of us in our education, we took time out and worked. When I went to college, I finished college in 3.5 years. I worked for 5 years before I went to medical school. Some other people have to win the Army or used to have to win the Army. You have to plan.
Thank you. Same question for you, Mr. Bergstead. How do you think the state legislature can support college students in reducing the amount of debt accumulated while attending our state institutions?
Well, I think with the surplus that we have, I mean, why can't we help these students out? You know, they're going to end up being good tax-paying citizens, and if we help pay off or help with their loans a little bit and help relieve some of that burden off of them, that they'll become good tax-paying citizens and be able to help the state back out. It's more kind of paying it forward, in my words, you know.
Again, education seems to be a hot topic this evening. This question reads, there is a teacher shortage across the state with around 200 open positions. How can the state legislature work with school districts to address this situation both now and in the long term?
Well, like we talked about earlier, the wages for teachers, I think that's a big hot button that we need to address, that we need to help fund that, help pay higher salaries for these teachers, and benefits. I mean, we need to keep the benefits for these teachers because, you know, that's the investment we want to make is in children. And if we are investing in the teachers, that means we're investing in the children too.
Thank you. Same question, Senator Kilzer.
Well, this seems to be a problem that comes and goes because not too long ago we had a surplus, but you said across the state there's 200 vacancies. I don't think we have any vacancies in Bismarck that I've been aware of. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of it has to do with the wage situation, and I've stated my opinions on that a moment ago. So I don't know of any other conditions that need to be corrected in order to clear up the 200 vacancies. I would have to know a little bit more about each one of those 200 vacancies, frankly.
Thank you both. And now we've reached the final question of this evening. How would you describe your approach for balancing the needs of the constituents you will represent in Bismarck at the same time you also work to consider statewide needs? Senator Kilzer.
Well, in many cases, I think they're the same. The needs and the requests of the people in District 47 are similar to their cousins who live across the state. We have to be able to, the state should be able to adjust to the needs of the people, and I think that we're doing it pretty good. Governor Dalrymple has said that we're in a game, we're winning. Why change the players? And so I don't really look at my constituents' needs as being different from across the state. There are differences to some extent, but not, I mean, that's why we have a legislature, frankly.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Bergstead, same question. How would you describe your approach for balancing the needs of your constituents at the same time you work to consider statewide needs?
Well, my constituents are the people that I'm working for, and I have to listen to what their needs are, and that's what I'm going to do is gather in what they think that I should be doing and move forward with that.
Candidates, thank you for being here tonight. You will now have 1 minute to provide a closing comment. Based on the draw, we'll begin with you, Mr. Bergstead.
Well, I'd like to thanks again to the League of Women Voters, Dakota Media Access, and the Bismarck Tribune for providing this valuable educational forum for the voters. This has been a wonderful opportunity for me to share my vision for the state. If I were elected, I will work for safe development of North Dakota's natural resources, a renewed focus on public safety, investments for the future, including quality education programs from pre-K through higher education, and the privileges to hunt, fish, and enjoy North Dakota's great outdoors. I want to extend a special thank you to my family, friends, and my coworkers at Basin Electric for supporting me on my candidacy. And I promise to bring a fresh perspective, common sense policies back to the North Dakota State Senate. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
And now 1 minute, Senator Kilzer.
I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters, the Bismarck Tribune, the Access and Cable Access, and the moderator and my challenger. I've learned a lot tonight. North Dakota is doing great. We are the envy of the nation. In Bismarck, we have seen tremendous strides. The state is proud of Bismarck, and Bismarck should be proud of our state. Just look around you. The Bank of North Dakota with its new building, Dakota Carrier Network, the new Family Practice Center at 7th and Rosser, Workers' Safety Insurance, the new building, the Liberty Memorial Bridge, the Crime Lab, the Medical Forensic Examiner, and the Men's New Penitentiary. All of these have been built within the last 10 years by the Republican Maine caucus, and we have 15 people from Bismarck. I would urge you to keep us all in there, and we'll all enjoy together the wonderful crown jewel, which is the Heritage Center. And so with that, I hope to end on a joyful note.
Thank you. I wish to also thank the Bismarck Tribune, Dakota Media Access, and the volunteers from the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum. Thank you to the viewers at home and the audience members here tonight for taking the time to learn more about the candidates and issues. This program will replay several times on Government Access, Cable Channel 2, and will be available for online viewing at freetv.org in the days leading up to the Legislative District 47 Senate election. Before we close this candidate forum, I want to remind you that voting in North Dakota is very simple, and you can find voting information at your county auditor's office and from the office of the North Dakota Secretary of State. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.